All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Will. This is Miles.
This is a pretty interesting camera view. So
This is different from the usual one. Yeah.
Before, we might throw a clip in there where Will was sitting on the wrong side of the table, and then we realized in the middle of recording that this is actually the backdrop. It's also
Better yet, this room is completely surrounded by clear glass. So
Yes.
people just watch us start the podcast from the wrong side of the table and then spin around and start it from here.
As you can tell, we're seasoned pros, and we're going to talk about our experience at the conference so far. Will, you want to talk about what we're doing?
We're at the Wealth Management Edge conference. It's in Hollywood, Florida. It's a combination of like Insight ETFs and a couple of other Wealth Stack and some other conferences that have gotten together. So some really cool advisor technology, some really cool research shops. We kind of bridge the gap between the two there, and then some other services that advisors are able to come see and see what's going on in the industry. Great place to make connections with advisors and partners. We've had great conversation on both sides of the aisle there. Thanks for those that came out and saw us at our booth. Pretty good convos. Any takeaways? You were asking me before we were actually recording this, AI has been huge here.
Yeah, it's been a main focus.
Thoughts?
And you could go up to any booth, right? Or any advisor that's walking around the building and ask them their opinion about AI, and they would probably have a pretty interesting one to share.
They would have an opinion for sure.
Right. And it goes from, of course, this is no new news by now, right? But you have guys who are absolutely terrified of it and it's going to change the industry forever. And then you've got guys that it's the end-all be-all for all the right reasons. I think the true answer, if you're asking for my humble opinion, somewhere in the middle, right? Yeah. Just like everything always ends up being. But nonetheless, it's still cool.
I think that most interesting takeaway that I've heard was from Michael Kitces this morning. So they did this hot wing challenge, which I know you can explain what it is. I don't know what it was, but they just sit up on stage and eat hot wings and talk about hot takes within the financial services industry. And he's, of course, a pretty well-known guy within the space, and his take was that if you look back 20 years ago, people thought that we'd be living on the moon by now with the advancement of technology. So I think similarly with the introduction of newish, I know it's not technically new, but newish applications of AI in the investment advisory space, I think maybe tempering some expectations would be my start with it.
Yeah. I think, but at the same time, there's a lot of different cool applications. It's really hard to not get excited. It's really hard to not. I think he put it really well when he said, apply the same trajectory of growth that we're on right now and just do that forever. Obviously, that's impossible to do, but it's hard to not do that. Let's see if I can phrase that right. It's hard to not do that when you walk around the room and see all of these awesome ideas that are being applied, right? Different scores for different things, different ways to conglomerate data with all utilizing AI, ways that we can just use AI in general to go and improve the world, improve the industry too. Yeah. So it's hard not to, but I agree, probably be tempered.
Dude, I tell you what, this room is really distracting to do a podcast in.
It is.
Because it is glass. You can't see this on the camera, but it is literally glass.
Yeah, we are not in Kansas anymore.
We are just staring at a bunch of people walking around. People are staring at us. This is a very unique experience.
I feel pretty official though, right?
Oh, I feel really official.
Yeah, kind of cool.
Yeah, super cool. Any other takeaways from the conference, or parting shots before we mention a few market things?
Yeah, Mike McDaniels was pretty cool. That's the head coach for the Dolphins. Yeah. He came in, talked about
very little finance.
Yeah, very little finance, but it was
the sneaker collection.
It was kind of cool. They put out a video. It was a hype up video to get him out there and to open up the conference. And I kind of whispered to Will, I was like, I'm ready to run through a wall right now. This was super pumped. We were in the room with how many people would you say?
Hundreds of people.
Hundreds of people, standing room only. But it was cool. That was awesome to kind of kick off the conference. Besides that,
he did have a pretty interesting. I think if I took one thing away from his conversation, he was talking about his time as a coach, working with world-class athletes. They trained their whole lives to get to this one point.
Yes.
And he is entrusted to be the best coach possible to further their career as a player for these next few years while they can earn and make the money that they are. And I think he tried to give a comparison to the advisory world where people work their whole lives to build money, to build wealth, and then it comes to this really critical juncture where they trust somebody to say, hey, carry me forward.
Right.
So I think that was his try to get his best tie into
Right.
the finance space. But apart from that, like, really interesting dude. Total.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And
total
he's
cordial.
he's got all the memes and stuff like that out there.
Yeah.
He's got a bunch of one-liners that he
even
came
gave
through.
us one of the like Dolphins things that he like walked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I mean I can't agree more with that, saying that he kind of put through. It's kind of reminds you of our duty, right, to go out and protect the client's assets in a way that he would try to protect his clients or his athletes'
players,
legacy, right? Because they worked their entire lives to get to a certain point, and now it's time. Now it's time for us to win, right? And so for us as, or for you as financial advisors and us as kind of help service you all, we got to make sure that we can get your clients across the finish line as well.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyways, I think that's probably all that we'll say about the conference. If you have more questions about it, happy to share. As for markets, they were still open as when we were here.
Right.
We were still working as we were here, doing morning videos and putting out report pieces. So we tried to keep up with what was going on. And I think the biggest takeaway I would start with, this is going to sound so dorky, but like copper was in a bunch of headlines,
Let's start off with copper.
Actually, no, we'll start with this. NASDAQ Composite hit a new all-time high. I think the S&P is hitting another new all-time high today.
Dow Jones, consecutive days. I think we're on 10 consecutive days of positive gains.
Yeah, so it's incredible to see. 5% pullback, I guess, was all we needed to revisit all-time highs. Pretty routine, to be honest.
And it's good, right? I mean, we have preached so many times, listen, the stock market cannot just go up every day and things are good, right? Like, it's normal to see pullbacks. It's normal to see those leaders like technology, semiconductors, see kind of suppressed readings across the board. But to have a 5% pullback, then you get, inflation data today, which was, kind of lighter than expected, I think, which is ultimately a good thing.
Market seemed to like it at least.
Exactly, yeah. And, I think it's good.
Yeah, I was looking at large cap story's been good still. Small cap story still not as fantastic.
Yeah.
I saw a stat line. I think the Russell 2000 is in the third longest period without reaching new all-time highs.
Right.
So third longest time it hasn't been all-time highs yet.
But I'll offer a counterpoint, though, and that's the fact that it's back above 2000, right? Russell 2000, back above 2000 conversationally, right? But what was that? What was that noise that you just made?
Just making a joke. I was confirming that you made a joke. Yeah.
But anyways, that's been a battleground throughout the last 52 weeks. It's been the top of this trading range that it just keeps butting up against. And so while we're not there quite yet, I think that it's better than the alternative, which is we aren't even near 2000 again.
True.
Right? So just to kind of both sides to the story, I don't know really which one's stronger. But
all right, now I'm going to loop it back to copper.
Go ahead.
I saw this on Twitter today and kind of confirmed it, that the Russell 2000 small caps and copper actually tend to move in the same direction, historically speaking. Copper is at all-time highs as well now, recently. Like base metal, we've talked about that. It's got a ton of application to the economy, so it gets a lot of interest when it starts going up because, one, it impacts a lot of costs, but two, it kind of is good for sentiment to say, like, hey, is there demand for this core metal out in the market?
Okay.
So Russell 2000 and I said copper tend to move together, so I think if you see copper continue to keep doing well, maybe small caps go along. Not, of course, a direct comparison, but historically that's been the path. Emerging markets also move. Yeah, emerging markets also move with copper. I've put some pieces out on that. Emerging markets, EEM took out a pretty big area of resistance.
It did.
It took out like some January highs from I think 23 maybe, or 23, 22.
It was
like
it
that.
was in that
23.
range, mostly due to China.
Yeah.
You put out a really great piece in alternatives. You sent it to me this morning. I don't know when it was, but you called it essentially. But emerging markets, China led and China focused, has kind of continued to rage, I guess for lack of a better word, rage forward.
Yeah.
And breaking past significant levels of resistance, moving higher on the asset class group scores page. Now, higher is a relative term, right? China entered the year with like a 0.1 average fund score, which is dismal just to say it. But it's creeping up around 3.0 in terms of an actionable point. At that point, though, I would probably say we're waiting for a pullback, but it could. I don't know. That's a difficult one to play.
Yeah. But anyways, I think you're getting some like tangential
Yeah,
technical
I got you off.
confirmation there. No,
Got
it's
you
okay.
off.
Like tangential technical confirmation. Now, I will say this is maybe too in the weeds, but with the copper discussion, that's been again big this week since we've been here. Is that it's gonna be so dorky, but if you look at the copper futures curve, it's in what's this thing called backwardation. So
Right.
the prices that are further out
Yep.
on
They're lower.
the curve, they're lower
Right.
than the current spot price, which would tell you that maybe demand for copper is much lower out in the future than it is right now. The convenience yield, as you call it,
Right.
to have it right now is so much higher than it is later. So yeah, maybe there are some concerns there to see if this is actually sustainable. I think it's very likely that you could get a pullback there. Copper's, I think, the most overbought on our chart it's been since like April of 2006.
Right.
So I think a really likely place for an XL based off the futures curve and also just based off of traditional kind of technical oscillators. But I like the overall trend. It's great for market. Historically, markets do a lot better when copper's performing well. It's good for emerging markets. Much rather see this than the opposite.
I don't want to drone and bother these guys with copper too much, but one
next
other
one.
relationship to watch is that copper gold relationship.
I thought you were gonna change
That's
topics.
well, we might, but
That was good. That was
you
good.
know, kind of a copper, as Will mentioned, being a more kind of constructionally, what's the word?
Yeah, base metal.
Yeah, base
very
metal.
core.
So that's kind of a risk-on asset versus
Yeah.
perhaps a gold, which is more defensive. And
Yeah.
gold's been ripping higher in the
Yeah.
face of defensive, offensive movement. I don't know. That's been a
Yeah.
confusing one.
Yeah,
But
I think gold's probably been cooling off relatively,
Right.
speaking to the other commodities. So yeah, I think we'll probably get a signal change for copper versus gold, and that would be
and
a
we'll
big
let you
positive.
know of that
We will.
when that if and when
Yeah.
that occurs.
I was chatting about it on the morning brief today, so if you listen to that, I gave a demonstration there.
Yeah. What's
any
next?
other? Yeah, I was about to say any other market topics. We kind of talked about equities, all-time highs, following healthy pullback, copper, and all the applications there. Wealth management conference.
Yeah.
Oh, we got.
I don't really know.
I say we
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
it short then.
All right,
I
we'll
say
keep
we
it short.
Yeah.